Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Treasure Wellness Show. I am your host, Michelle, and it is so good to have you here with us today. You are going to love this powerful conversation that we are having about how to own your health, really cherish it, treasure it, and really help yourself be your own best advocate and do it with simplicity so that it is sustainable, right? My special guest today is Dr. Blake Livingood. He is a chiropractor, author, and speaker, and he enjoys life in North Carolina, as do I, with his beautiful wife, Jessica, and his three amazing kids. Dr. Livingood has just had a new book come out. We are going to talk about that in a bit. And Dr. Livingood, I just love how you break down wellness so simply, right? I am all about simple and sustainable because simple is sustainable and not trying all the things. We've all been there, we've all done that, and it's exhausting and it's not really helping us to heal and recover. And the wellness world is so loud and confusing. So I am super excited to have you today. Welcome.
Yes, it's a treat to be here, and yeah, fellow North Carolinian, so excited for it.
Yes, awesome. So I always love to ask my guests, what are you treasuring right now in the season of your life?
Oh, it is knee deep in family right now. So I have a 7, a 9, and 11-year-old, and so the two youngest are girls, and so getting to be a girl dad is just a treat, and then pouring into the son to turn him into a good man. So that's the weekends, the days, the our little family of five, just full on life in that matter, activities and but same philosophy, trying to keep life simple and not overwhelm it with too much stuff, and keep just those family values and enjoying this precious time. It's the research of 90 to 95% of the all of the time you will ever spend with your kids happens from age 0 to 18. And so
Mhm.
I don't have that many years left, and the majority of the time I'll ever spend with them is right now. And so we are soaking up every minute. That's the treasure, no doubt.
No doubt. And absolutely, we're talking off air, just to enjoy every second, treasure it all because it goes by so fast. I was just talking to my son yesterday, and I'm like, I haven't seen you since Christmas, and you're 45 minutes away.
Crazy, just
But
life.
the work schedules, and he's
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "No, work schedules." So, and it's your work schedule. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, I
I
think it'll apply to the health conversation today. It's just, we can get busy with so many things, and then we end up not prioritizing the right stuff, and then life gets kind of sideways. So
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And, all of us in holistic wellness, we have a story that God has used to bring us to the calling on our lives, what we do right now in our season to help others to be well, to live a healthy life. And from what I know, yours stems from your father being very sick. So, I'd like you to share that time in your life. How did that time lead you to the passionate work that you do today?
yeah, the question for everyone listening is, why is it so often that 911 is the wake up call that a lot of us need to take care of our health? And that's how I experienced it in doctorate school. And I get a phone call. It's my mom. I step into the hallway. I still remember the pattern on the carpet, exactly where I was. And she's bawling on the other end and said, Mom, what's wrong? And she said, Blake, it's your dad. His heart just shut down. He's being airlifted to Mayo Clinic. Come home as soon as you can. And everything stops. Doesn't matter the load of homework and tests and things I had to do for doctorate school, and you're just, what activities, what work you had to do, what everything stops and you're there. And I came home and helped navigate a very difficult situation of my dad being airlifted to Mayo Clinic and not understanding what was wrong with him, and watching him over the next few weeks, and then it turned into a next couple of years in bounced from doctor to doctor trying to understand what was wrong with my father and different diagnoses, and watched him go through what I would call the American sick care system, a system designed in how it operates. They saved my dad's life in a crisis. Thankful for that with that helicopter ride. But you don't enter the system and you don't get care in the system until you have disease and diagnosis. In fact, you could go like my dad did for 50 plus years, pass the blood tests and the physical because he had to for UPS and get a clean bill of health. And then suddenly having his heart shut down, driving home from work, checked himself into the hospital. Thank God he made it all the way back. But then to watch him go 15 different doctors, 15 different diagnoses. He lost his hearing. He had a virus hit during that time. Lost his hearing, couldn't hear, so I had to literally write to him on a whiteboard. So if the fact that you can talk to your family members today is a blessing that you have no idea being able to do that, because having to write everything you do to a family member was just, very eye-opening. And 15 different diagnoses, 15 different drugs. It was cancers, lymphomas, different autoimmune conditions, vasculitises, extreme fatigue, extreme inflammation. Dad couldn't get out of bed a lot of days, 50 milligrams of prednisone every single day. Just multiple surgeries with his hearts, cochlear implants, so he could eventually at least hear, from a kind of a synthetic hearing in that regard. But no answers. And they finally landed on a condition called Cogan's syndrome, which the only reason I bring this up for the listeners is that if you look it up in studies on it, it's a rare autoimmune disease that affects the eyes and the ears and the inflammation in the body. 250 people in the history of the world have been diagnosed with it.
Wow.
And so some people find almost some sense of hope or closure or whatever with it. But all it did was leave me with questions of, well, what are we supposed to do with that now? 250 people have ever gotten it. That still doesn't give us the solution of, I just want my dad back.
Right.
I just want him to be healthy again. I want him to be able to ride his bike and hang out with my mom and enjoy holidays. And I mean, he couldn't do anything. And my family's going bankrupt with all the medical bills that are just piling up. And we just realized we've got to get him a solution. So after 2 years of that, and me being a doctor at school and learning, and I started studying under some of the better natural health minds that I could find. I spent my weekends traveling all over the country. When my friends were going to sporting events or going out or whatever, I was just traveling, learning, and started to understand how do we actually build health, and pulled my dad out of Mayo Clinic. My grandfather wasn't very happy at the time. He's passed on since then. And we got into a little tiff over it of like, what are you doing? You can't pull him out of the best hospital in the world. And I just said, he's not getting healthy, right? And I appreciate their care and I appreciate the people and what they're trying to do, but he wasn't actually getting well and getting his life back. And so we moved him in. At that point, my wife was, we were set to get married, and so we were living with a roommate. It was her. My dad moved in, and he slept in our little sunroom on a futon. And over the next couple of months, we just started building health. And what I realized is that a sick care system waits for you to get sickness and disease and then manages sickness and disease, manages the condition. But health, you only get that if you build it. And so we took him to the grocery store, and we taught him what to eat, and we taught him what ingredients to spot. And, Nurse Livingood, my wife was a nurse at the Children's Hospital in Atlanta. So she had a career nursing job at this point in Atlanta where we were, and I was getting my doctorate. And she's cooking meals, and we're taking him for exercise, and we're working on him mentally and what he was focusing on and the word and taking him to church and working on his spine and how he beat his body up. And he walks into my room and hands me a box after a couple of months of this. And I'm like, what's this? And he said, I don't need it anymore. And it was his medications. And that medication, I have them in a bag. I guess I could have pulled them out as a prop today. It was all of his drugs, and he had been weaning himself off of it and working with doctors on it. And I certainly would not tell anyone to just come off their medications, but he had been building health, and I never got rid of that. I have it till this day. And he got sent home to my mom and got back on his bike and went fishing again. And they were able to social event. He couldn't work because he couldn't hear, but he got his life back. He got the chance to live good again. And so he got to attend countless more birthday parties and Christmases and holidays because we built health for him and with him. But eventually it all caught up, because when you're on 50 milligrams of prednisone, you're taking 15 different medications, and you like all of that starts to weigh down on the body. And it was his liver actually that over time just couldn't keep up with that onslaught. And at age 58, we ended up losing him, but I'm extremely thankful for the 5 extra years we got And all it did by that point, I was in practice, and here we're, growing one of the largest natural health clinics in the world and helping thousands of people, but I still couldn't save the one that mattered the most to me. But it just added fuel to the fire of just two greatest days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. The day my dad handed me that box of medication, that was the day I knew why I was here. And my wife and I went very hard at helping others do the exact same. So she stepped away from that career nursing job, and we just focused on how do we help people naturally build health. And then dad passing just added even more fuel to the fire. And we were getting 800, requests around the country of, can you help my cousin in Texas? Can you help my friend in California? Can you, all over the world? And so we decided to take everything online. And so that's when I, put his story into the form of a book. And now that book helps millions of people experience real health every day and have the steps of the same stuff we walked him through when he lived with us in that little apartment in Georgia, to transform and save people from ever ending up where he ended up. But it doesn't have to be 911 to get that wake up call to actually do it, to build health. And that's how we've gotten to here today. And so many that I can't even practice in the clinic anymore, because there's, millions of people to help across, our large team and across the world. And so all in his name. Who knew that our pain and our struggle,
Yeah.
and our test ended up being the biggest testimony for other people to get their life back and never end up in that situation. So it's all been used for good. I can say that.
Yes, and that's how God will do it. He will use it for our good and his glory, and for us to help others. That's why we went through what we went through with our daughter's health crisis all those years ago when she was little, and nobody could help her. Nobody could figure out what was wrong. And it took 3 years. And I finally fired everybody and left the state literally and went to holistic nutrition and wellness. And that's what we needed. And that changed my life forever, because, when we have a story, and it's especially that close family member, and you lived it, you walked through, you got to see the changes that, as sick as he was improving. The body knows what to do. And this is what is so amazing about how God designed our body. It knows what to do to heal and recover when we give it what it needs. And so thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And I know that that is going to touch a lot of people's hearts and encourage them that it is never too late. It is never, ever too late to make little changes that are simple and sustainable that have big impact in your wellness.
Right.
So I work with women that are very driven, they're doers, they're high achieving, they're busy, they've got a bunch of plates spinning in the air. They love what they do, but they are doing it through a lens of exhaustion. And the career, the family, the serving in church, all of that, they just love it so much. But even through the good, the stress is high. And
Yep.
over time, we know how that affects their adrenals. We know how it's affecting them. And a lot of women feel like this is just their life. So, will you speak to the stress connection to chronic fatigue conditions, specifically
Yep.
chronic adrenal, and how their nervous system is impacted, especially in women over 40?
Yeah, I mean, I could say I probably live with one, that has to be very acutely aware. Mom of three with, helping found this and being a nurse and serving and all the things you said. So can definitely relate to it. And a lot of our following falls into that bucket. I just did a YouTube video recently on this, and it was kind of a little bit more focused on weight loss side of it. It's part of it. But it was more pertaining to, like, if I were to condense 15 years of knowledge and really just kind of cut through. There's so much information out there, as far as I feel like we're getting informationally obese, that
Yes.
with so many different opinions and thoughts. And what about this product and that thing and that ad and that line of thinking? Just trying to simplify it down of, there's some really good rocks that you can build your foundation on. And then when storms come, when a health crisis comes, when stress comes, everything doesn't just blow over and crumble. And it's aligned with what you teach and what your podcast is about. And in the video, I was just some simple ones of, I see women choose a style of eating that is so stressful on them, and they end up creating so much strain on themselves, their lives, their convenience, their family, just in the name of counting a calorie or eliminating a specific food group, and I think we have to have nutritional guidelines. But the reason I bring this one up first is that if the way that you eat off of your nutritional approach is your lifestyle. And we have such a short-term diet way of thinking that will try very extreme things. I think a lot of them have benefits, but whether it's fasting or carnivore or gluten-free or counting calories or eliminating calories, and I see so many people get all of their willpower in a short amount of time, and then that willpower starts to crumble, or they end the diet, which is a swear word around Dr. Livingood. I don't love the word because it's got an end date, and our health, the way we want it while we're here on earth, doesn't have an end date until we leave. And so I want to sustain that level of health for a lifetime. And so our approach needs to be more in alignment with that, as opposed to just short-term willpower. I think there's a time for specific autoimmune protocols or way of eating, or a time you might pick up the tool that is carnivore or fasting to get yourself over some kind of hump or reset something. But it's a little underrated how overcomplicated we can make just good, solid principle. Like, if God made it, eat it. If he didn't, don't. Like, there's a good place to start.
Right.
And don't commit yourself to a 21-day, 30-day, 60-day, so stressful, where you're making yourself a whole other meal as you're trying to make the family and your husband, and I see this all the time, and it's so straining. You want to be able to take them along for the ride and make things that are good for the whole family, that are made from wholesome foods, that keep it very simple, that if it comes through a window or makes noise when you open it, it's probably not that good for you. So less of that, more of real wholesome foods. And so it's less about that diet mentality, more about how can I establish better habits for myself and my family. It takes a lot of stress off. So that's just more of the source of some of the stress of just trying to think about getting healthy. Number two, which I'll speak to briefly before we get to the nervous system, is just the way that we exercise. And I do see that as a strain on women, that if you're already exhausted, you're already stretching yourself thin, and you are not, and you are putting yourself through an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours, this very strenuous exercise, you're oftentimes doing more help than good, especially when it comes to your adrenals. And so that's why I really like, for this demographic and this kind of grouping of this type of problem, is shorter, higher intensive exercises. 10 minutes is all I teach my people, where you can high intensity, short duration. This morning I had my workout and ab bonus and stretching done in 15 minutes. So I'm targeting my hormones. I'm surging fat burning mode. I'm working on your figure and looking good. And then I'm rehabbing some of the banged up areas of my body that are stressing out my joints, all in 15 minutes. And so it's more that, as opposed, there's nothing wrong if you want to go for longer walks, but just being very conscious of longer, strenuous, medium level activity. It's stressing the body even more. It's adding even more to the fatigue, and shortening that down and lengthening your sleep time is one of the big pivots that I would put in there. You've got to prioritize. You can be perfect with nutrition, but if you're not putting your body into healing mode at night, everything shuts down. Your nervous system is the only system that speeds up, and its job is to heal you. And your brain gets a bath from the spinal fluid from that day. Your nervous system is now searching out and repairing things. And so if it's interrupted halfway through because you have nighttime anxiety, if you don't get to bed till midnight because you were so exhausted, you found comfort in watching a show and eating a snack late night, you're just stressing the system that's trying to recover. And if you do that long enough, what a very obvious, very underrated way of causing you and pushing yourself into just complete exhaustion. And then it brings us to that final one, the nervous system. If that's the thing that has to heal all of it, Christopher Reeve, Superman, falls off a horse, damages one bone at the top of his neck, moves it 1/4 of an inch, shuts everything down. how important is that little area? Your nervous system is what he damaged. Just a little bump of one bone. And his whole body, he has a pacemaker to run his heart, a respirator to breathe with his lungs. He ended up dying of a common cold. The immune system shut down. So all of it shutting down when the nervous system isn't right. Well, we're upright and mobile and not in a wheelchair, thank God, for most of us, hopefully listening. And what does that have to do with me, Dr. Livingood? Your nervous system has to deal with everyday stresses. And so many of the stresses that women are facing is like running into a tiger a bear in the woods, right? That's what we're feeling. But that bear is actually our schedule, our duties, the weight that's on so many women. And so you're feeling that kind of stress as if you were being attacked by a vicious animal, but it's just your everyday normal activity. And so that's called your sympathetic nervous system. You have two nervous systems. Sympathetic is your stresses, the stress response, I'm late, my deadlines, I've got to get this done, I have to do this, the pressures that are on you. And we're constantly hitting that button. That is the accelerator. And what we don't normally press on is the brakes. It's okay to go fast. I probably can't change fast for you. I can't eliminate your deadlines or fix your family issues or whatever is straining you. But I can show you and teach you how to hit the brakes. And your brakes is when you activate what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's your digestion, your sleep, your reproductive activity, your adrenals, your cortisol. So be the opposite of cortisol, be opposite of what those adrenals are doing to calm you down. And the easiest way to activate it, you can do it in 1 minute, is to breathe.
Yes.
Breathing stimulates your vagus nerve. It's my favorite nerve. It's kind of nerdy. I'm a doctor. It's VAGUS, kind of sounds like Las Vegas, but it's my favorite nerve. And it's called the Great Wanderer. And it controls your heart and your blood pressure and your breathing and your digestion. And it calms your system down. And one of the easiest ways you can activate it is to pretend to smoke a cigarette. I prefer if you actually didn't smoke the cigarette. But if you pretend to do that, the act of breathing 4 to 5 seconds in and at least 5 seconds out stimulates the vagus nerve, specifically the parasympathetic nerve, and it calms the system down. So I encourage my followers to take several nature's smoke breaks during the day to stimulate that system that doesn't get much stimulus, because we're always on the accelerator and we rarely hit the brake. So I'd say the three of those stack together when we simplify some of our nutrition, and we can talk about resources to help you to do that in a few minutes. The condensing of your workout, get more out of less time and keep the stress off your system, prioritize sleep instead, extend that, put more time into that. And then paced breathing, pretending you're smoking a cigarette a couple of times a day for a minute. And what a shift, just simple stuff, foundational things that if you were able to make those a habit, the impact it would have had on your fatigue long-term. I always teach our people, we just want progress, not perfection. Right. And you just getting 1%, 1%, 1%, little bit, one step each day creates a habit over time. And with the compounding effect of that, if you did it for 365 days, you'd be 37 times healthier with your stress if you just got 1% better today than you were yesterday. You don't need to fix the whole thing at once. So right. That's the thing. We need some grace in there, right, to really start to change these. So that was a lot to digest, those three main points there, but I just was teaching on it. And it was some of my highlights from 15 years of doing this. Yeah. Not a fancy nutrients or some crazy protocol, but just these foundational things that make a huge difference.
I love it so much because it so aligns, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show, because it so aligns with what I've always done. I've always done an anti-inflammatory nutrition protocol. I've always talked about, especially after my second fatigue crisis, how less is more, like especially in the exercise department. You know, we build in these daily restore times because that breathing is so important. Everybody can take 5 minutes. Everybody can take 5 minutes to get away. And, you know, with COVID and the influx of women and people in general working from home, we tend to give even more of ourselves
Yep.
than is what we're even getting paid for. Like even, salary, right? Like it just,
Yep.
we are allowed to take breaks and we get into this mindset of pushing through. It's a push through mindset. And so we need to take these daily restore times and focus on the bare basics. It's not about doing everything at once. It's not, that's not sustainable. And I love that you talked about all of that and you articulated it so well because we women have tried all the things. They've tried all the challenges. They've tried the protocols, the programs, this and that. They're scrolling. They're even putting their health information and questions into chat, which I'm not a fan of. But it's like we're trying so much. Just pause, take a break, and ask the Lord, number one, and then ask yourself because your body was so brilliantly designed and it will tell you what you need, what it needs to help recover and heal. We just have to quiet the noise. There's so much noise right now.
Yeah, I always say you don't need something new. You just need a consistent you.
Mm, I love that. Consistency. Absolutely.
Consistent. We already know what the foundational pieces of health are. What I find is most people aren't doing them regularly enough. You don't need to add a new machine. You don't need to add a new mechanism. You don't need to add a new drink mix. You don't need to add a new. I mean, I teach some of those things and I speak to it. I get it, but women are flooded with that stuff right now, and
Yeah.
we really got to get back to some basics. They are incredibly powerful. They're foundations for a reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You think about the house, right? Like you've got your foundation that has to be set firm. Like it's even in the Bible, and Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun. So these modalities that you and I are talking about, it's not like they're new. It's just that we need to get back to the basics,
I call
back
them
to the foundation.
I call them sand. So what you want on your foundation is rock,
Yes.
larger boulders. Put
Yes.
all your focus on the boulders. And then there's pebbles. Like in the jar analogy, we've probably all
Yeah.
seen you want to fill it all up. Put the rocks in first, the big ones, and then some pebbles and then sand. But when we jump all the way to a vibration plate or I don't know, just whatever the trend is, depending on when you're listening to this. I get asked all of them. We're focusing on sand. Should I not eat spinach because I heard it could impact my kidney? Okay, let's hang on. Let's eat real food. Spinach would be included. That's a rock. Okay, let's
Yeah.
clean up your soda and your candy bar and your 5 hours of sleep and the fact you haven't paused to breathe today and you forgot to get exercise in because you ran out of time because you could have done it in 10 minutes, but you thought you had to go for an hour. Like those are boulders, those are rocks. And I try to filter out as much sand because it stresses us out. And then we're all caught up in 82 things we have to do as opposed to just a solid foundation.
I remember when I had a client that she would power walk for 4 miles every single day. And she had a very physical job, but she always squeezed in that 4 mile power walk and she was exhausted. Like she
Sure.
was head to toe exhausted. And I'm like, we need to take that away. We need to less is more. And women are so resistant. They're so resistant, as you know, about doing less because it's the worldly mindset, the diet mentality, all of that noise that we have in our head. And finally, she was ready. It took about a month. And finally, she was ready to pull back. And she just did some stretching for 1 week. And she's like, oh, I feel better. And then she slowly built back up her
Back
walking.
in. That's right.
And as her energy came back, and she not only got more energy, but her sleep was deeper and she was losing some of the stubborn weight that was not coming off because she was listening to her body and not overtaxing it. And so I love that. And to your story with your dad, we are 2/3 of the way sick before a diagnosis is even made
Right.
because the labs and just kicking the can, I call it kicking the lab test can down the road. So these foundational pieces really do so much on a cellular level, as well as helping us simply feel better in the day to day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I spoke at the Veterans Hospital here in the area several years ago, and they had me come in and speak to doctors and nurses. And it happened to be the nephrologists. And I used the opportunity to teach exactly what you're talking about there. I said, at what point do you feel kidney disease? Now, there's research out of Australia and their kidney foundation. It's, more like 70, 80% loss of function that you'd have to get to before you'd actually know it. And he's like, no, it's 90%. That's what I see on a daily basis. Person dealing with that all the time. You lose 90% of the function of a vital organ, one of your 7 filters that you have in your body, before you would feel it. And so most of us are walking around, and if I asked you, how healthy are you? You would respond with something about how you feel. We're all judging our health and how we feel, and it's got to be more about function. And so we want to build back in the things that allow function in our bodies, our sleep, our breathing, nutrition, right? This is what builds function back. This is what takes you back towards functioning and healing at 100%, not just feeling a little bit better. So.
I love that so much. It's like restorative. I talk about restoring wellness, and it's like that restorative because we shouldn't have left the restorative, but because of life and sin and just the world that we live in and the toxins and the environmental and all that stuff, we do have to work a little bit harder to restore that function and to help our bodies as they're navigating all of that. And that just kind of leads me to one of the things I wanted to ask you. You
Yeah.
and I are both, we both have a very strong faith. I know you're very active in your local church. One thing that's really bothered me, Dr. Livingood, is how God's people are just as sick as the world. And really in the last 7 to 8 years, it's really been weighing on me. And we don't have a healthcare system. You know this. We have a disease management system. We have sick care system. And the church is just as sick as the world. And so I know that you and I are so aligned on how we, each of us, everybody listening, we need to be our own best advocate for our health, not just for our wellness, but for the wellness of our families with this generational impact that is so important. So I would just love your thoughts and your insight on why is the church just as sick as the world?
You're bringing me around full circle. When I first decided to write a book, the first one I wrote actually that no one listening would have their hands on probably was a book for the church. And I spoke in the North Carolina area here. It was over 100. There was, coalitions of churches and 100 times I spoke at a church. And so I just was really convicted on this and we did lots of corporations and businesses and such as well. I was just, determined to get the message out because I saw the problem that you see, and whether it's secular or in the Christian world, but especially bothered me with it. I called it was Health Potential was the name of the book. And the entire book was around the scripture of 1 John 4:4. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And what that meant from a doctor's eyes is that who is the greatest doctor in the world? It's not Dr. Livingood. It's not Dr. Oz or whoever you follow on Instagram, or it wasn't one of those doctors at Mayo Clinic, right? It's what's inside of you. And if you don't believe me on that, explain to me what happens if you get a paper cut on your finger. You get a cut, it hurts, it's red, it bleeds, it stops bleeding, a scab forms, and a week or two later, it's gone. There isn't a doctor on this planet that could figure out how to do that. And if you give the paper cut to a dead person, nothing happens. So then the question is, whatever you would like to call that thing between the dead body and the live body, is the thing that does all the healing. That's the doctor. And I think as the church, what I would teach them is that you should know that more than anyone else on this planet of what that life force, that power is. And it's always on, and it's at 100%, just like the sun, but the clouds can get in the way. And the thing I based the book around was just teaching to remove the interference so that power can go back to work. And I don't believe that the devil can take that health from you. I don't believe that's what took it from my dad. When all of his other friends were abusing alcohol and smoking and eating horribly, and my dad actually was he had a great diet and he was exercising every night before he went, but he kind of caught on with that maybe in his later 40s, early 50s when he lost his health. To see his friends still alive and dad gone, I wrestled with that for a long time. Like, wow, that doesn't seem fair because he was doing a lot more activities. But I think in a period of his life, the devil can't steal your health from you, but will distract you from the things that are needed to keep the health. And that was a lot of the message. And once that distraction's there, you are very little good to your purpose, to family, if you're sick or dead. And you've experienced this. I experienced with my dad. It's not that there still wasn't purpose all over it. There's always a reason. It's all used for good. But you can't do what you're put here to do. Why you have breath in your lungs. The reason you were born, the day you find out why. The day you're born, the day you find out why. Like I said earlier, the reason you have breath in your lungs today, the reason you woke up today and someone else didn't, that purpose, you can't fully fulfill it if you're not here or you're in a hospital bed. And if we have a conviction or a charge that we're going to need that one thing in order to execute whatever it is he's got on our lives, whether it's being a mom or contributing at our church or some kind of book you need to write or song you need to sing or whatever. We don't want all of those things and purposes to end up 6 feet under, because some of the best potential, which is why it was called health potential, and ideas and impact to the world never made it to the world because it went to the grave. And it's helping a person thrive, be healthy, and then get that purpose out into the world. Got to have your health to do it. And I learned that the hard way. And yeah, that was the teaching. And that was what I think the church needs to understand better than most. But I will tell you that the devil has got many distracted. And there's so many church services that are based around, after the service today will be pancakes and biscuits, and there's food for the meetings, and there's food for the meetup, and then we're going to hand out this. Like we're sucked into being distracted and not valuing really taking care of the temple like it commands. So
agreed. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, I love that. And just like you, I encourage my listeners to really own their health, really just treasure it, steward it, especially in this midlife season when it's so loud and crazy and overwhelming. And so I talk about eating well, being well, living well, right? And I know that's something that's so close to your heart as well. You have a new book that just came out, I think in January, called Livingood Approved. That would be a fantastic resource, as it's like part cookbook, part informational guide, and I believe your wife helped you with that as well. So tell us about that book and how people can get their copy.
Yeah, so this is book 4. We've been, just fortunate, blessed to write books that have impacted millions of lives. And so we decided to go back at it again about 2 years ago to just, have it on our hearts to put that out. And we followed one of the structures of one of our kids' books, the Bearstein Bears books, where it's like storybook 1 on this side, flip it over, storybook number 2. And we're like, what if we just combine them together? And so that's exactly what we did. I have one sitting beside me here. And so I wrote this nutritional breakdown, and I really did focus a lot on the liver. And the fastest growing condition in the world today is fatty liver disease. It's highly connected to obesity, but this is actually an organ shutting down. And there is 100 million Americans with this already. And most, just like the kidneys, cannot feel it. And weight loss starts with your liver and would have an enormous connection with you feeling fatigued. One of the primary symptoms of liver problems is fatigue. And so I wrote and broke that down, and then the foods that are driving this. And it's a catchy analogy of just how to stop eating crap. CRAP is my analogy for making nutrition simple, so you can just really understand a couple simple concepts to feel good, look good, and live good. And then on side 2, the beautiful nurse Livingood made an entire cookbook of all of our family favorites, our restaurant alternatives. Like if instead of going to Chick-fil-A, my kids have never eaten there, we made them our own version at home of a biscuit and a chicken sandwich. Or we want to have Chinese night. How do you do it healthy? And so she breaks that down in the backside, along with how do you enjoy Christmas healthy and a birthday healthy. And so she gives all those recipes. And the big issue that I saw was that I would still make a book like this, right? And then you would go to the store, but you wouldn't know what to buy because you go to the ranch section and there's 14 ranch dressings.
Mm,
What do I do? And so it becomes very challenging because the front of the label says one story. It says gluten-free, fat-free, sugar-free. It has all these health appealing terminology,
right.
but the back of it, the ingredient section told a completely different story. And so
Yeah.
there's this misconception with big food and big pharma. And so I broke that down, and there's 11,000 ingredients that are approved in our food supply. And 11,000. How do you keep up? I can't teach you 11,000. That's not simple at all.
No.
So I sat at a coffee shop and went through all 11,000, every single one of them. And I asked myself, would I put this in my mouth? Would I put this in my kids' mouth?
Mm,
Is it something I should cut out completely? Or could I be a human and enjoy it sometimes, but I just wouldn't want to overeat it? And I put it and broke it down and explained them all in the book. And then we created an associated app, and it's the Livingood Daily app to go with it. It's a free resource. The book is a free resource. All you pay is the shipping, and we'll just send the book to you. You can go to drlivingood.com. And so any of your listeners can get the free double book. We literally just hand it out, and you get the book, and then you can download the app. There's a QR code in the book, or you can go to Livingood Daily and download the app. And you can go to the grocery store, and I'll tell you, is this a approved food? Now, if you have health goals, you're fatigued, you're inflamed, your hormones are off, right? We're going to want to challenge your body to get back to that full function.
mm,
And so those foods will be challenge approved. We got to get a little more strict at that point, right? To get
right.
you back to healing. We got to cut some things out that are going to cause problems. And then there's other foods that are lifestyle approved. And that's, hey, have some sugar. I don't know, have some ice cream. Be a human, right?
Right.
But let's follow these criteria. Here's the better choices for these foods. But if you're trying to lose weight or overcome something, we got to tighten things up. And then there's the not approved, avoid category of like, Dr. Living Good kids, we just wouldn't put that in our mouth. We try not to have that one as least as we can. And so the app identifies those things for you. So it's really made the nutritional component much more simple for people to simply understand the concepts, know how to go to the store and buy the ingredients and get some assistance on which one would I pick to be the best choice, and then put them into recipes that Nurse Living Good is not like Master Chef. It's 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
3 kids running around. They got to be able to
Right.
pack this as well and make the nutritional, component of it a lot more simple. So that's what we've been up to the last couple of years of putting that out and just helping to make this more practical and easy to be done.
I love so much about what you said. I mean, you had me with Bearstein Bears, like, just how it's that flip book. I didn't even realize that when I was looking to
Yes.
order my copy. I didn't even realize it was flipped because I think I looked on Amazon. Don't go to Amazon, go to his
They
website.
don't, Amazon doesn't allow it. And so, I mean, you can go and buy a full price book. We had to put them all into one together on Amazon.
Yeah,
And we have Amazon bestsellers, and this one probably will be as well. But this one, like, no, we just want to give it to you. We made it wire binding, which Amazon doesn't do. So then you can like lay it open
right.
and make here's my mom's cucumber vinegar salad recipe. As a kid, that
Right.
was one of my favorites. So we took recipes like that and it honored our grandmothers and our moms and such, and made their old recipes with healthy ingredients, stuff like that. So it's like, hey, you set it on your counter and do your thing. And yeah, we're just giving them out, and you just cover the shipping because of course USPS and UPS or whoever get their
Yes.
cost to send through them. That's it. And that's how we're, again, using my dad's story, which his story's in there. Again, it's rare that I teach something without it. And this is just our family sharing it with yours. Like, you can do this, and you can be a full-on mom with a career and kids and so much going on, but there's simple principles. And this really checks the box of all the nutritional side of things. And then we have incredible groups and coaches that kind of bring that to life. And that's what you help to do, to keep the accountability and the support along the way. So.
Right. I love that so much. The lay flat. I mean, my goodness. I mean, how annoying is it, ladies, to be on Pinterest trying to follow a recipe and you've got all these ads. Get off your device, get this book, get this cookbook. It's lay flat, which I'm a huge, huge believer in that. The journal that I'm creating or have created, I'm waiting for it to be shipped. is lay flat. Like it's super important for that. Like certain things are just really important, for us as we're tracking or
That's right.
cooking. So I love that so much. That is amazing. I will have all of your information linked in the show notes, Dr. Livingood. And this has been such a fantastic conversation. I'm so happy and grateful you've given us your time today. Would you leave our listeners with some hope, a treasured truth?
We spoke on it, right? I go back to that scripture, back to that word, greater is he that is in me than he in the world. And that is 100% true for your health. There is a doctor inside of you that is the smartest, most intelligent, most powerful doctor you could ever come across, and it's inside of you. And the fact that you have breath in your lungs and a heart that's beating and eyes that can blink means that that power is still working. And in some way, you're interfering with it, you're messing it up. And your simple job is to give your body what it needs to remove that interference, and you can heal. I watched my dad overcome a condition 250 people had ever had. No one comes back from that. No one goes back to work with, or goes back to biking and doing the things they love with no medications. But it's because we tapped into that doctor, and we stopped listening to the other ones, but we started focusing on building health. Focus on what you can do, not the situation or the diagnosis that you've been given. Build health. That's always the encouraging word, and that's what I have faith in.
Amen. Me too. Absolutely 100%. Oh, this has been so rich. Okay, I will be linking your YouTube channel, how people can get your books, all of that information. Thank you so, so very much for sharing your time with us today.